Good afternoon, sir. My name is Baynora Ismapandi. So today I'm going to report about the using commas in using and punctuation. So first is, what is a comma? A comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause as needed in a sentence. Commas help to clarify meaning for the reader. So we use a comma to show a short pause which separate parts of a sentence. So, a comma is the most important grammatical tool the English language has to offer because this splice a sentence providing cohesion and unity. So, a comma is allows the reader to understand the proper connotation of writer's words. So it helps the reader to figure out which words go together in a sentence and which parts of our sentence are most important. Using commas incorrectly may confuse the reader, signal ignorance of writing rules, or indicate carelessness. So, there are 8 rules of how to use a comma. 8 basic rules of how to use a comma. So, first is use a comma to separate item in a series of 3 or more things. So, remember that an item may refer to noun, verb as adjective, phrase. Note, usage of a comma to separate the second to last item is optional. So, we call this Oxford comma, but I would like to use it, but it is not necessary. So, as we can see, in this example, I bought cheese and bread. We don't need to put a comma because it shows that there are only 2 different items. So, we don't need to put a comma. So, in the second item is, I bought ham, comma, cheese, comma, and bread. So, it shows that, in this example, it shows that if we have 3 or more items, we need to put a comma after ham and after cheese. So, this is one is optional because it is the second and the last item. So, use a comma to separate independent clause, complete thought when the are by the following conjunctions. So, for, and, or, but, or, yet, so. So, when these words are used as conjunctions, usually in the middle of the sentence, we have to use a comma to separate independent clause. So now, these fanboys is the way we can remember. So, example, I want to quit my job, but I need the money. So, in this example, it shows that it is incorrect because there is no comma. So, the correct is, I want to quit my job, comma, but I need the money. So, it shows that in these examples, there are 2 independent clause. Number 1 is, I want to quit my job. It is a complete thought. Number 2 is, I need the money. It is also a complete thought. But, so, these clauses are separated by a comma before the conjunction but. because they are two independent clauses. So remember that the comma comes before the conjunctions. So number 3, use a comma to separate a dependent clause incomplete thought from an independent clause complete thought. So example, when I move to Spain, you can come visit me. So in this example, it shows that when I move to Spain, it is not an independent clause. You can just have a sentence that says, when I move to Spain. So you need to have this independent clause, which is you can come visit me, because it is a complete thought to make sense. So we need to put a comma after Spain to make sense. The another examples is, if you finish your works on Thursday, I'll give you Friday off. So if you finish your work on Thursday, it is an incomplete thought. It needs that the second part of the sentence to make sense. We put a comma after Thursday to separate the dependent clause and the independent clause. So, number 4, use a comma to separate any word or phrase from the rest of the sentence that isn't essential to the sentence's meaning. So, example, Jane, my girlfriend, is coming to the party tonight. So, in this example is incorrect because there is no comma. So the correct is, Jean, my girlfriend, is coming to the party tonight. So because the first sentence is incorrect because this part here, my girlfriend, it doesn't change the rest of the sentence. It is not important to sentence. So we can say that Jane is coming to the party tonight, but my girlfriend is the little bit extra information. So the correct is Jane, comma, my girlfriend, comma, is coming to the party tonight. Number 5. Use a comma to separate a quotation from the rest of a sentence. So in American English, commas always go before closing quotation marks, but in British English, it's afterwards. So we're gonna focus on American English. So examples, I am exhausted, he said. So I am exhausted, this wasn't here. He said, this is end with a period. So because this part of a sentence, we have to put a comma here after exhausted before the quotation and put he said. So note that if a quotation before an attributive tag ends in a quotation mark or exclamation point, don't use a comma. Example, where are you? He asked. So the second is, where are you? He asked. So Uh, the second is it is not right because it ends with question mark. And if it's also ended in an exclamation mark, we don't need to put a comma after question mark because it is already has punctuation. So number 6, use a comma to separate an introductory element from the rest of a sentence. So this is a quite easy examples. Hey, comma, how are you today? Number 2, sorry, comma, you're not invited to my party. Wait, comma, what time does the meeting start? So that's it. It's symbols. So we use a comma to separate. This is the uh, this is the these are all the introductory words that we use have to separate from the rest of the sentence. So that's it. So use a comma to separate the name of a city from a country or state. So so this is very easy if we are going to separating a city from a country or city from state, we have to put a comma. So example, I live in Madrid, comma, Spain for an early decade. I think he lives in Lisbon, comma, Portugal. He is offering me a position in Toronto, comma, Ontario. So that is how easy. So use a comma to separate the day of the week, the day of the month, and the day of the in the year. So examples. Today is Tuesday, comma, January 18, 2022. So Lauren was born on Monday, comma, January 10, 2022. So the last one is please join us on Saturday, comma, January 22, 2022, comma, for the wedding of Jason and Anna. So this is how this example shows that how to use a comma to separate the day of the week, the day of the month, and the year. So as we can see in the last one, because the date is in the middle of the sentence, we have to put or place a comma after 2022 as well. So let's move on from um, using from use let's move on from using. So there are 3 ways of using in punctuation. So first is period or full stop. So use a period to end a declaratives rule. In a period, there is a rule to end a sentence. So the first is use a period to end a declarative sentence or statement. So example, what is your name? So uh, so This is an interrogative sentence that ends with a question mark. So, my name is Jennifer. So, that is a declarative sentence, a complete sentence that ends in a period. Number 2. Rule number 2, place a period at the end of a sentence. Examples: I have a cat. His name is Vickers. So in this example, it shows that it is incorrect because I have a cat, put a period after space. So this is incorrect. So the correct is I have a cat, period, and then space. His name is Vickers. So place a period at the end of the sentence without leaving a space between the last period of the sentence and the period. So then we leave a space after the period before starting our next sentence. Rule number 3. Use periods at the end of sentences that are intended to instruct or command. Example: please sit down. Lock the door when you leave the house. So, we usually use period at the end of imperative sentence or commands. Sometimes we use an exclamation mark to express great emotions. So, rule number 4, an indirect question ends with a period, not a question mark. So, example: direct question, where is my phone? So in this rule, it is a little bit more complicated because a lot of people make this mistake, both English learners and also needs of English speakers. So when a question is direct, we need to use a question mark at the end. But a direct question will begin with one of these words: who, what, where, when, why, how, can, and may. When a question is indirect, we don't need to use a period at the end to indicate this. So, the indirect question is, I wonder where my phone is. So, we end a period because this is not actually asking a question. It's just making a statement. So, I wonder where my phone is, but it is not actually asking someone directly, where is my phone? So, that's it. So, Rule number 5. If a sentence ends with an abbreviation that ends in a period, do not follow it with another period. So, example, I have an appointment at 10 a.m. So, this is correct. So, this is, in these examples, it is shows that it is correct. So, in this rule, we often use periods with abbreviation like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, Cent, EM, PM, etc. and uh, incorporation or incomplete. So in this example, I have an appointment at 10 a.m. So this is correct. So I have an appointment at 10 p.m. Period after period is incorrect. This is incorrect because it show because because there are the period because it follow the another period, so this is incorrect. So number 2 is to ending the sentence. The number 2 is exclamation point. So it is used at the end of a sentence or a short phrase which expresses very strong feeling. So examples: I'm gonna eat so much candy. Go to your room. It is used when you are angry. So I'm going to party. That is the example. So question mark. It is to indicate that a sentence is a question. Examples: where is my book? How old are you?